Nigeria's ruling All Progressive Congress apologies and the People's Democratic Party as terrorist organization. This is generating a lot of controversy and a lot of reaction in the polity. And we'll be looking at this. What made the Canadian government to declare the PDP and the APC in such a despicable manner? I will be dissecting and breaking all this down for you. We'll be dwelling in the realm of international relations, the realm of international diplomacy, looking at the politics between states in this instance between countries. And I've told you before that when political scientists say states, sometimes it also means countries. So we'll be looking at what is happening between Nigeria and Canada. We'll be tracing it back. We'll be looking at the antecedent of the historical relation and why the Canadian government will declare APC and PDP a terrorist organization and the implication of this for both Nigerian leaders and Nigerians. We'll be looking at a lot on this episode of Politics with your sure plug, Dr. Omosholadeji. If you are the type that you like knowledge of international relation and diplomacy, you want to know what is happening between countries, you want to know like the behind the scene, you want to know how countries arrive at their decisions, you want to know what could have influenced the Canadian government to say that, well, as far as they are concerned, APC, PDP, you guys are terrorist organization, and what are the things that they saw? And another thing is it true that the PDP and the APC are they such organizations as labeled by the Canadian government? And what can we point to in the electoral system of Nigeria? If we look at Nigeria's electoral system, what are the flaws in it, and does this align with the position of the Canadian Federal High Court? I will be giving you an in-depth analysis of the background of what happened as regards the man called Dave Egbarigba. I hope I got that pronunciation correctly. Just a moment. Douglas Egariva. I will be giving you a breakdown of what happened and how the case lingered in the Canadian court. We'll be diving into a lot, moving from Nigeria all the way to Canada, back to Nigeria, looking at the politics and relation between these two countries. We'll be doing all this and more. So the thing is, Canadian government have always had this, what I call an hostile approach to Nigeria. And I will get into that in a moment, because this case of Douglas Egbareva is very, very kind of insulting in the sense that if you label political parties a terrorist organization, that means that you are saying that the government that emerge from the political process of those political parties is an illegitimate government. That means you are saying that the government is an irresponsible government and the whole entity itself is an illegal entity. So a lot to be considered as regards the politics that is going on between Canada and Nigeria. And is this an expectation of what to expect in 2027 if these countries, if they now gang up against Nigeria, if we experience what we can call a gang up of states against Nigeria, in the sense that if the Canadian government is against Nigeria, if the US government is against the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if the UK government follows suit, what can we learn from all this based on history? You will recall, if you're a student of maybe social science, sociology, or you did politics as a borrowed course in school, you may have heard of the Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. As regards the famous power project that Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana embarked on before he was executed allegedly by the CIA. You may have read about the case of Patrice Lumumba. You may have gotten to read the works of Julius Nyerere. Some of these scholars that have spoken about how these Western countries, the pattern that they use to kind of like usurp the powers of a legitimate government in Africa. So is this another new pattern? Are they changing pattern? Is this a change of dynamics? Is that things changing? Is this another methodology of delegitimizing the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu? A lot to touch on as regards politics and international relations. So if you are the type that values knowledge and you have been yearning to hear from a political scientist as regards this issue between Canada and Nigeria, the political parties didn't declare as terrorist organization, where I got you on this particular topic. And do well to say and help me do a sound check. Help me do a sound check there. Let me do a sound check. And Abosede says, hi, Dr. Bosholaje, thanks for a great job. Oh, thank you very much. I'm thinking, is this Lady B? Because there's a line on my screen, so I can't read the other name. There's a line. My phone fell down, and there's a line on my screen. So we'll be looking at some of these issues. If it's Lady B, you can also dial in. You can reach out to me and make your contribution as regards what you think about the labeling of PDP and APC a terrorist organization. Now, let me give you some background. There is a man called Douglas Egbareva. Douglas Egbareva is a member of the PDP at some point. Then he also joined the ruling All Progressive Congress at some point, and he decided to move to Canada in 2017. I don't know what pursued him to Canada. Maybe he wants greener pastures. Maybe things weren't going the way he wanted in Nigeria. Maybe he deserves a better life. Maybe he too want to go and secure the the future of his family and friends. I don't know what pushed Douglas Egbareva to Canada, but he was a member of the PDP between 1999 to 2007, and I think to 2007, yes. I think then later it was reported that he moved to the APC, although the APC wasn't in existence at that point in time. So I suspect that Daniel Egbareva was either in one of the legacy parties that bet the APC. I think that was why the Canadian government said APC. I think the Canadian government said that just so that they can lay emphasis. I think that there was no APC when Daniel Egbareva joined the move to Canada at that point in time, but maybe he's a member of the legacy parties, which is a faction of the PDP, which they call the NPDP, new PDP at that point in time, who recall the likes of Rotimi Amechi, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, when they left the shores of when they left the venue of the PDP, I think convention or Congress at that point in time, and they formed the NPDP. So it's either Daniel Egbareva is part of the Rotimi Amechi clique and the Atiku Abubakar clique of the NPDP at that point in time, or Daniel Egbareva is of the AC or ACN at that point in time, which is the party of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it is either is of the AC or ACN. Then another thing is that looking at it, it's either Daniel Egbareva is of the CPC, which is the Buhari bloc at that point in time. So I'm giving you these legacy parties to arrive at why the Canadian government said that APC. So it's either Egbareva is of this legacy, and also there's Abga, because you will recall at that point in time, I think Daniel Rochas Okorocha, apologies, Rochas Okorocha was, I think, of the Abga at that point in time. So he too also joined to form the APC, and that was the party that produced Muhammadu Buhari. So when the Canadian government was to make reference, they said APC, but as at when Daniel Egbareva opted into Canada, I don't think there was APC at that point in time. So take note of that. Another thing is when Daniel entered Canada, so there's this background information form that he filled. So he was talking about the history of his life, and some of you that are conversant with some of this migration, immigration stuffs and all that, they asked him that, okay, tell us about you. What do you think that we should know about you? And Daniel Egbareva, apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name, Daniel Egbareva, I think so. Daniel Egbareva, while filling the form, decided to feel that, well, so and so time I was a member of the PDP. Then afterward, I was also a member of the All Progressive Congress. And later in after some years, Daniel Egbareva, while in Canada, decided to kind of like ask for asylum. The argument that he placed was that, the normal argument that Nigerians place. I don't want to say some of them online, make I no cast my people, you understand? But some of you that are in the diaspora, some of these things that Nigerians used to say if they want to claim asylum. So the Canadian government went back to the details of Daniel Egbareva. And you see, this thing that I'm saying, I'm taking my time to narrate it for you, because some of you that are watching me, you may be in the diaspora, you may not have paper yet, you may be dreaming of having paper, you may even be planning to submit your application, you may want to japa, you may want to apply for visa, you may want to apply for scholarship. I'm telling you so that you will know the reason why you shouldn't affiliate with any of Nigeria's political parties if you like yourself, because the government of these countries, they share information amongst themselves, and any line that the Canadian government follow, there's high probability that the US will follow. If you know international relation and diplomacy very well, you will know that the UK government will most likely follow, the French government will most likely follow, the Australian government will most likely follow, and some of these countries, they share information and data among themselves, which is that if US refuse you visa, if you go to the UK embassy, to say you want to apply for visa, they are seeing it in their system that the US have rejected you visa. So some of them, they will ask you, have you ever applied to any country before? Have you ever been denied the visa of any country like the United States, like Canada? You will think they don't know. You will say, no, I've never applied before. You won't know that they are seeing it on their system. Don't take my word for it. If you have any friend that works at embassy or that is an international relation expert, ask that particular friend that, oh, there's one Dr. Omosholadeji that lied. That man, he lied. Oh. That these countries share data. If that friend is truly in the field of international relations and is an expert in that regard, it will tell you that the US, the UK, the Canadian government, the Australian government, these countries share data. So if you go to UK and you go and japa jadanu and you didn't come back, if UK deport you, you cannot go to any reasonable country in your life again. If US, this Trump deportation saga, all these things, if the US catch you, all these, I think they call them ICE, ICE. If ICE is able to apprehend you and you are in the United States and they deport you, you cannot go to any reasonable country again because the data is already with the UK government, the data is already with the Canadian government, the data is already with the Australian government. Except you want to go to a country like Kenya, Bangladesh, Philippines, Myanmar, all those kind of strange countries. And some of these Schengen countries, which are the European Union, which when you get the Schengen visa, is visa to, I think, 28 countries. Right, visa to 28 countries, they also share information. So that is the essence of this platform. It is not a gossip platform. It is a platform where we dissect politics and happenings in the polity and we educate ourselves. I will use the little knowledge that God has given me and based on my expertise to educate people that are watching me, and they can as well transfer it to their friends and family. So let's go back to the issue of Daniel Igbareva. So when Daniel Igbareva was to apply for asylum, the Canadian government went back to his record, what he declared that who he is. And there's one thing about Canada, which is that Canada takes background check seriously. That's what some people don't know. Canada as a country, they take background checks seriously. I have a friend currently now, we were studying at the same time but in different universities. He's currently I think he must have finished his postdoc by now. Maybe he's a lecturer or researcher because he has been doing the postdoc for like 3 years ago and he's a Canadian citizen now, so he should have finished the postdoc. He's at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Some of you that know the university, you can Google it, Memorial University of Newfoundland, Canada. That's the university that my friend is in. And when he want to apply for the visa, despite the fact that he has a work permit, what did the Canadian government do? They still denied him the visa twice. They denied my friend the visa of Canada twice, so much so that he has to, he had to get a lawyer and try to kind of like maneuver his way through. It was very rigorous. You know why? Canadian government do background check. That is why some of you, if you apply for visa, you won't get response on time. Do you know the reason? Nigerian institutions are ineffective. If they write that university that you go to in Nigeria, that your university that you are proud of, oh, I'm an alumni of Unilag, oh, Great Ife, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, all these universities that that are in Nigeria. If you are a graduate of those universities, if the Canadian government, for example, writes them, they may not hear from them for 1 year. They may not hear from them for 6 months. And your application is pending. So you will be thinking that, why is my application being delayed? You'll be praying, you'll be fasting, you'll be casting and binding, you'll be losing, you'll be going from one mountain to another. God bless you for pressing the love button, and also do well to subscribe to this channel if you are here to. So you'll be praying, you'll be casting and binding, you'll be speaking in tongues, not knowing that it is not that the Canadian government is not treating your visa. The problem is left with the school that you graduated from, because every information that you declare will be verified by the Canadian government. So that is the genesis of the problem of Daniel Igbareva. Who would have thought that affiliating with a political party, that it's a normal thing. A political party is not a lawless organization. They have constitution. They are expected to kind of like abide by the laws of the country. So who would have thought that declaring that, oh, I'm a member of PDP, I'm a member of APC, would have warrant that, well, you would be denied your visa? Nobody would have thought of that. You understand? So the man, Daniel Igbareva, never saw it coming. He just said that, well, I was a member of the PDP at so time, then I was a member of the APC. But when the Canadian government was to to review his document. When they got to the stage of APC and PDP, the Canadian government already have a reservation about Nigeria, and I will come to that in a moment as regards the policies of a country to another country, which will lead me to the open policy and should I call it the secret or closed policy. I will get to that in the course of this video. But when the Canadian government was reviewing the document of Daniel Egbareva, the Nigerian politician, when they got to the PDP and APC, because the Canadian government already had a position about Nigeria, they already have their own position of what they think about Nigeria. So the Canadian government said, well, because you have declared that you are a member of the PDP and at some point you are a member of the APC, well, apologies, we cannot grant you asylum. You are not worthy to be a Canadian or to be granted asylum under the Canadian laws. And Daniel Egbareva was shocked to the bone. He almost collapsed. That what? When does being a member of a political, and I need you to listen attention. I told at the beginning of this video that this thing that I'm telling you, if it's not useful for you, it will be useful for your friends, for your family, for even your child or anybody close to you, because Nigerians travel a lot. So Daniel Egbareva never saw it coming. But when the Canadian government gave him their judgment that, well, we can't deny you, we can't give you asylum, we can't grant you asylum for so and so reason, he was shocked. Then he decided to appeal that judgment, that he decided to appeal it that, no, this is not possible, because you cannot say because I'm a member of a political party in Nigeria, for that reason I don't deserve asylum. Come up with another thing, you may be right, but on this you are not right. So Daniel Egbareva appeal that particular judgment, and I will get to a point whereby you need to fast and pray, and I will get to the point of village people, the people they call village people, with profound respect to the people that flight in the night, profound respect to them. I will get to that point, and now those people influence the downfall of Daniel Egbareva, because there is, to my mind, a spiritual dimension to this case that people are now reading all over the world. There is, to my mind, a spiritual dimension to it, and I will get to that in a moment. So when Daniel Egbareva was denied that asylum, he was very sad, because he knows that, well, if they deny you, the next thing is for them to process your deportation, and you find yourself in Muritala Mohammed International Airport. So when they denied him, he decided to appeal. He decided to exhaust all the legal avenues of seeking redress, and the Western system, it gives room. God bless you for pressing the love button. I don't know who is doing that, but may God bless you greatly, so that this video can get to other people. And of course, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel. All these things are free. At least if you have been listening to me, you must have gained one or two things from me, and you are still going to gain a lot more, because you are listening to a political scientist that is also an international relation expert, and I'm talking about something that relates to my field of study. So I'm not just saying yes, say, or trying to dance around it. No, this is something that I am an expert in. So Daniel Egbareva decided to exhaust the appeal process, and during the appeal, when he appealed it, judgment came in his favor. Now listen attentively, I will get to the point of village people. If you say that there's no village people, or that, oh, it's a lie, oh, village people are not real, my dear, village people are so real, and may they not enter your matter, may they not enter your case, may they not reason you as they did to Daniel Egbareva. So when Daniel Egbareva appealed that particular decision of the Canadian court, do you know what happened? The Canadian court decided to approve his asylum request. They agreed with him that they agreed with him that, well, being a member of a political party alone does not warrant that the Canadian government will now say that you cannot be granted an asylum, because they cannot link your action. God bless you for pressing the love button. And the court agreed with Daniel Egbareva that they cannot link your individual action. Let me use a name now. For instance, there's a Bolade in my comment section. There's an MVI. There is a Dick Avios. There's an Abosede in my comment section. Let me use Abosede for instance. Now, Abosede applied to the Canadian government, and they now agreed during the appeal that, well, we cannot use the actions of Abosede. In this case, it is Daniel Egbareva. Don't forget that we cannot use the action of Ogunbola or something, Sulaiman, that we cannot use the action of Sulaiman to judge him. We cannot use the action of the PDP and APC to judge Sulaiman. So what we will do is to go ahead and grant him the asylum, because you cannot unilaterally link him to that particular to the atrocities being committed by the political party in Nigeria. Look at God at work. Look at the grace of God in Daniel Egbareva's life. When he appealed, they gave judgment in his favor that, well, yeah, go and grant him that asylum. If being a member of a political party is the only reason, then you, Canadian government, you have no reason. God bless you, MVI. God bless you, my brother. So the Canadian government said, the Canadian court rather instruct the Canadian government to grant him the asylum, and the Canadian government had no choice. They decided that, well, they are going to comply, and all of a sudden, suddenly, the Canadian government, headed by the minister in Canada, the minister in charge, you know that there's a lot of people that are applying. When you are applying for visa, when you are applying for asylum, resident permit, green card, call it anything, thousands of people are applying. And particularly if you are a Nigerian, you cannot be the only one. There are thousands of people that are applying. So if something is happening, why is it that it is Daniel Egbareva that they were able to bring out his case? That's where I point to the village people, and that's why I said village people are real. If you are the type that you don't pray, you don't fast, if you are the type that you are lackadaisical as regards praying and fasting, particularly if you want to do matters that relates to your destiny, particularly if you're applying for a visa, if you're applying for scholarship or something, if you are the type that don't know how to pray and fast, don't forget that the foundation problem is real. What do I mean by the foundational problem? Which is the house that you are coming from, the ancestral history that you are coming from, the powers of limitations of your father's house and your mother's house, the power that we say this is how far you can go. You cannot go more than this particular level. The powers that we say that nobody in your family, nobody in your father's house, nobody in your mother's house, your grandfather, your great-grandfather has not crossed this particular line. How dare you ever dream that you want to cross this particular line? So if you are doing something that, if you look at the realm of your family, it is something that is strange. It is something that people have not done before. At that particular time, that is not the time to be drinking, to be humanizing. That is the time to be praying, to be fasting, to be making sure that you hold yourself tight, because at that particular crucial time when decisions will be taken, the powers of your father's house may arise against you, the powers of your mother's house may arise against you. In fact, your sin self may even arise against you. And that was what happened to Daniel Egbareva, which is that after the court had given judgment in his favor, the minister in Canada decided that, well, they were even about to grant him that particular asylum, but all of a sudden, from nowhere, they just decide that, no, we are not satisfied. You being a member of PDP and APC, you are a terrorist. That country, that your political party, they are terrorists. We are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that no, we will not agree. Let us appeal this thing too. At least this person has appealed. We deny him the first time he appealed. We too, we have a window of appeal. Let us to go and appeal. And that is why I said the powers of your father's side, because why is it on your own time? Why is it your own case? Why didn't your own file pass? Why is it not people that are coming, that are coming after you, that they will decide that they want to take a decision again? Why is it Daniel Egbareva? And guess what? When they appealed, they now state during the appeal that Egbareva is a member of a political party and also is somehow a leader in his own right, that we cannot dissociate the conduct of the members of the political party at the national level, at the state level, and at the local government, even at the world level, that we cannot dissociate their. And I need you to, please, in the name of God, listen to this attentively. The Canadian government says that we cannot dissociate do you know the conduct of these members of political parties in terms of violence, in terms of vote buying, in terms of election rigging, in terms of ballot box snatching, in terms of electoral fraud, in terms of electoral malpractice. The Canadian government argued that we cannot dissociate the action of those at the lower cadre. We cannot dissociate them from the actions of those at the top, because those at the top are the beneficiaries of this election rigging. The Canadian government argued that if you decide to go and rig an election, definitely one big man at the top must have hired you, must have influenced you, must have promised you something, that you stand something to gain. And the person that is the utmost beneficiary is those people at the top. That you are not just going to rig for nothing. You are not just going to go and kill and destroy for nothing. You are doing it because there's one person at the top. There's one big man. There's one top politician that stands to benefit. So that was the argument of the Canadian government. And the court, looking at it back and forth, they look at it and they were like, yes, that's correct, that's true. I think Justice Pyong O, yeah, I hope I got that name correct, Justice Pyong O, now decide that, well, the argument of the Canadian government is valid as against Douglas Egbareva, that yeah, you are correct. And guess what? They now decide to say, well, based on this argument, we found merit in what the Canadian government is saying. Your asylum is hereby revoked and denied. And that is the story of Daniel Egbareva. And in that particular judgment, the Canadian court, the Canadian Federal Court, now made reference that the activities of political parties in Nigeria have terrorist intent, that some of their conduct, some of their characters, some of their oration, and I will be giving you like 6 or 8 examples, clear examples that nobody can go against that, oh, it is wrong. A lot. I will give you so many examples, and if I can give you just one, you remember the case of El-Rufai, that they will return in body bags during the election of Muhammadu Buhari. You will recall that El-Rufai, the same small statured El-Rufai, made a statement at that point in time that, oh, if the foreign observers decide to influence Nigerian election, that if they try to intervene in any way or manner whatsoever, they will return in body bags. You remember that particular statement? What do we call that? That we say human beings that have come to observe election, Europeans, Americans, people from all walks of life, Oceanians, even fellow Africans, that they will return in body bag. What do we call that kind of utterance? Is that not a terrorist-like utterance? Is that not a kind of like, very absurd way of thinking? And for you to make that, those are some of these things that the Canadian government are saying, that they say, well, as far as they are concerned, political parties in Nigeria, they are more like terrorist organization. I've just given you one, and I'll be giving you like 8 later on. So they now decide, the Canadian court now revoked the asylum and anything that has to do with Daniel Egbareva. Why? You may want to ask yourself, again for emphasis, the major reason why they denied Daniel Egbareva, a former politician in Nigeria that moved to Canada in 2017. That means that Daniel Egbareva has been in Canada for the past 8 years. That means he may has even lost touch of business in Nigeria. The only reason why they denied him that asylum is his affiliation with a Nigerian political party. Is his affiliation again with a Nigerian political party, and that itself is a lesson for so many of us. You see, Nigerians, some people, all they know how to do is to jump from one movie to another. They will watch movie for like 5 hours, series 1, series 2, but when it comes to something that will benefit their life, they will be nowhere to be found. And information is power, because as I'm talking to you, I think today is Saturday, right? Somebody is going to fill form on Monday to apply for Canadian visa, and he's still going to declare himself a member of PDP and APC. That's the problem with Nigerians. They don't seek information. Ignorance is no defense. Somebody is going to apply for US citizenship on Monday, this Monday. Somebody is going to apply for asylum in Canada this Monday. That person will still go and declare that, oh, I'm a member of PDP, I'm a member of APC. Why? Because they fail to get the right information. So if you are watching me right now, I can say congratulations to you, because information is power. What you know, nobody can use it to intimidate or harass you, and what you know, it will be rare for such a thing to kill you. So if you know that this is poison, it will be very difficult for you to eat poison. But the case of Daniel Ibareva is a lesson to a lot of Nigerians, because some people are still going to apply. If you go to the UK embassy in Nigeria, you go to the American embassy, the Canadian embassy, the Australian embassy, Nigerians will troop there on Monday looking for visa, and some of them will still go and declare themselves as members of the PDP and APC, not knowing that when you are in Rome, or if you want to go to Rome, you must start to practice like Romans, in the sense that if you want to go to Canada, you must be reading information about Canada and try to be able to package yourself so that the government of the country you are going to, they will find you valuable, they will find you worthy of being in their system, they will find you capable, that your values, your thinking, your orientation is good for their country. And one of such right now is you not being a member of PDP and APC. So if you know anybody, I beg you in the name of God, tell that particular person never to declare themselves as a member of PDP and APC. Another thing is that you see all this social media. You are on Facebook, you are on TikTok, you are on Instagram. You know, for instance, there is a by-election in Nigeria today, and that by-election, I think it's held in, I think, 12 state or something like that. That particular election, there are some Nigerians that will still go to their social media, that will be making commentary about the election. When they say, oh, electoral violence, there are some Nigerians that will still share it. There are some Nigerians that will still post something to support electoral violence. There are some Nigerians that they will still be commenting, that yes, it is good as they snatch the ballot box. Oh, it is APC must win. It's either APC or nothing. You don't know that you are killing yourself. After you say it's one witchcraft, no, you have killed yourself by yourself, because those comments will come back to hurt you when the Canadian government, the American government decide to conduct a background check on you, that okay, so person applying for a visa, let us conduct a background check. If they see that you have supported electoral violence before, if you see that your post or your social media, there's a PDP flag, there's an APC flag, if they see that in your comment you have you have declared support for maybe Tinubu or Buhari before, don't forget that these are the people that have even ruined your life. These are the people that can't even help you, that can't even help your life, that can't help your destiny. You have declared support for some of them, despite the fact that you are not their family, you are not their son, you are not their daughter. At the end of the day, they will use that against you, and that is why Nigerians need to be very careful. So what I can say is that never affiliate with any political party, at least for the time being, whether online or in your document. If you are filling any document, or you are making any post or commentary online, try not to affiliate with any of these political parties. And let us dissect some of these issues. If the Canadian government is saying that, as far as they are concerned, political parties in Nigeria are terrorist organization, that means that the Canadian court is saying that Nigeria is being ruled by terrorists. Now, if you are saying that PDP and APC that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that produced Muhammadu Buhari, the PDP that produced Goodluck Jonathan, that produced Olusegun Obasanjo and the late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and the PDP that will still produce other presidents, as well as the APC or Labour Party. So what the Canadian government is saying is that Nigeria is a terrorist country, or should I say Nigeria is into democratic terrorism, if I can use that combination of words. So it means that the Canadian government is saying that Nigeria is being ruled by terrorists, because if the political party that brought a candidate into office, the APC ushered in Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if you declare that the APC is is an extremist organization, that means that you are saying that the members of those political parties from top to bottom are also extremists. So if you are saying that they are extremists, that means that you are saying that Nigeria is an extremist country. That means that you are saying that Nigeria is being ruled by terrorists. So that itself is something that we need to look into as regards, the pronunciation, or should I say the pronouncement of the Canadian court, because I think the Canadian government lacks such powers to say that APC and PDP are terrorist organization. I think that they could have gone far to do a better job, in the sense that the Canadian government was apparently being lazy. It is a lazy approach to just summarily say that, oh, Nigerians are corrupt. No, if you want to do a good job, if you want to do an in-depth job, you are supposed to go in-depth to try and look for the traits and characteristics of Nigerians that are corrupt, to do a scientific research of how to identify a corrupt Nigerian, whether through your visa interview, whether through your asylum interview. But for you to summarily, for instance, say that, oh, Nigerians are corrupt because Canada is not corrupt, so we don't want corrupt people in our country, I think that is a lazy man job. So the Canadian government, I think they acted ultra vires in this regard. Ultra vires means beyond powers. I think they acted beyond their powers, because to my mind, it is beyond the powers of the Canadian government to now declare APC and PDP as terrorist organization, because the action of the PDP and APC have not affected the Canadian government directly. And I will come to how the Canadian government can also dissociate themselves from Nigerian political parties or people that have things to do with Nigerian political power. But if you look at it, if there's an election in Ogun State, if there's an election in Oyo State, definitely those elections have nothing apparently to do with the Canadian government. No Canadian citizen was killed, no Canadian citizen was injured. So if you are now saying that based on the election that was conducted in Oyo, Ogun, or across the length and breadth of Nigeria, that Canadians weren't affected, and on the basis of that, your business interest wasn't affected, you now say that, well, from your lens, from your perspective, despite the fact that you are not a Nigerian, you now declare that, oh, based on this election, these parties are terrorist organization. I think that itself leaves much to be desired, and I think it crossed the boundary of international relation and diplomacy. Unquenchable Firebrand, I see you. Great to have you. Please press the love button, do what to subscribe if you are yet to, and of course share this video so that other people can get to benefit. So I think it is not right to declare that PDP and APC are terrorist organization, although the action of these political parties, and I will come to that in a moment, the action of these political parties, some of them are quite terrorist inclined, and I'll be giving you some examples, because if you look at the conduct of these political parties, whereby politics is a do or die affair, whereby you either vote or you die, whereby you either do this or you lose your life. You will recall there was a point in time during the Kogi State governorship election, during the rerun of during the second term of Yaya Bello. Do you remember what happened in that particular election, whereby a PDP woman leader was burnt alive in her house? What do we call that? Who bomb people alive in their house, if not people that are terrorists? So you can see that if you look at it from another lens, you can see that the Canadian government have a point. Let's be sincere with ourselves. Although I don't think that it is right for you to now declare that every member of PDP, every member of APC are terrorists. But some of the actions of this political, you remember the dogs and the baboon will be soaking blood. A statement that is notoriously ascribed to the immediate late past president Muhammadu Buhari, and the kind of conflict that ensued, whereby coppers were massacred. What can we call that kind of what can we call that kind of oration? Who make that kind of oration? Look at the consequence of that oration. So if you look at it very well, if you are the type that is familiar with politics and happenings in Nigeria, you would know that, well, the Nigerian government have a real the Canadian government have some points. So that is it as regards the issue of PDP and APC being terrorist organization. But then let us look at it. In Nigeria, election is truly war. If you look at it, in Nigeria of today, election is like a war. If there is an election in Nigeria as today, people will want to kill, people will want to die, people will want to destroy. Why? Because of the premium that we place on politics in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the electioneering is very, very lucrative. You will see somebody that cannot feed, somebody that cannot do anything meaningful in his life, that person will become a politician, and instantly that person will become a multi-millionaire. So the election in Nigeria leaves much to be desired, and unfortunately the Tinubu government is not even doing much to make sure that there is electoral reform. And I spoke about that in my last live video, whereby the Tinubu government is not even pretending that they want to do electoral reform. And if we look at it well, Nigeria operates a flawed our abnormal democracy. The Nigerian democracy is not the normal democracy. Let me give you an instance of what a normal democracy should be. A normal democracy is like a carnival. Some of you that are in the diaspora, if you are abroad and you've witnessed an election in the country that you are in, some of you cannot testify to what I'm saying, in the sense that if you are witnessing an election abroad, the election day is always calm. People just go about their normal duties. Some people even go to work on election day. They don't need to close the borders. They don't need to kind of like deploy 30,000, 50,000, 50 billion policemen. They don't need to do that. They don't need, to kind of like, do vote buying and all that. Everywhere is just peaceful. People will vote. Some people can even vote within the comfort of their home. The result of the election will be out. There will be no technical glitch. There's no INEC that will say that, well, the network is not working, this, that, this, and at the end of the day, nothing would happen. Let me take this comment from Dr. Ayo. He says, no immigration as a lot political. There are some lines on my screen, so some of those ones I may not be able to see them correctly. My gadget fell down, so I have some lines on it. An economic impact in other nations. Besides, Canada does a lot of investigation to before coming to conclusion about any nation. Yes, I said that earlier, that they do a lot of background check, and Canada is good in that regard when it comes to doing background check. So if you look at it very well, the Nigerian election leaves much to be desired, because in other countries that I have witnessed their electioneering process before, on election day you won't even know, but in Nigeria on election day is always problem. Somebody wants to kill, somebody wants to destroy, somebody wants to force himself on the Nigerian people, and you will see what will happen in 2027. You will see what the Tinubu boys will be doing. You will see what the Atiku boys, the Obi boys, you will see what they will be doing, because politics in Nigeria carries a lot of premium. If you are holding political power in Nigeria, you are like a god on earth, and that is why everybody wants to go all out to make sure that they win election. Now, I promise to give you some instance as regards the activities of the Nigerian political parties. I want to try and make this live video as concise as possible. So let me give you some instances, and I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have about 5 or 6 instances here as regards the Canadian government labeling PDP and APC as terrorist organization. Is it right? No, it's not right. What are the circumstances that led to it? I have done a lot of explanation in that regard. Now, let me give you instances, undeniable, verifiable instances that will make you to agree with the Canadian government that indeed, you see this APC, you see this PDP, they are truly terrorist organization. Let me give you some rich instances in that regard. Number one is, you will recall the election of Yaya Bello. When Yaya Bello, the immediate past governor of Kogi State, that is under investigation and prosecution by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, you will recall that when he was contesting for a second term election, at that point in time, there was an allegation that police helicopter was flying in the air, and from that police helicopter that they were allegedly shooting into the crowd. This is something that you can verify online. It was all over the place at that point in time that they saw police helicopter flying, the airspace, and there were some people that were shooting right from that helicopter allegedly into the crowd. Look at that kind of instance, whereby in a democracy where people are lined up to vote, where people just want to exercise their franchise, which is the right to vote and be voted for, you will now take the apparatus of the state, the apparatchik of the state, the security equipment of the state and country. You will now take it, fly it in the air, and allegedly be shooting into the crowd. So what do we call that kind of action? Is that not a terrorist act in the true sense of it? So as much as you may be pained as a Nigerian, as much as you may not want to agree with the Canadian government, as much as you may not like the oration or the position of the Canadian government, the truth is that, can you truly say that Nigerian political parties are only in their conduct and action? And don't forget that in that particular judgment, the Canadian government, went back as far as 2000 3 2004 to reference the conduct of the PDP at that point in time. The Canadian government went back in time to 2004. So if the Canadian government could reference something that happened in 2003, 2004, that means that the Canadian government have been monitoring Nigerian government for the past 20 years, because 2004, this is 2025. 2004 minus 2000, that is 21 years. So before you want to tackle the Canadian government, you may want to think that the Canadian government, have they been studying the Nigerian government? Have there been some kind of like diplomatic decision, some background diplomatic check and decision as regards Nigeria as a country? Because for the Canadian government to reference what happened in 2004, that means that they must have a rich information. That means that they must have a rich handbook. That means that the Canadian government have been documenting the series of political infractions, the series of political violence that have been happening in Nigeria, being orchestrated by the PDP and APC, because it takes courage. It takes a lot of intellectual resources for a government of a foreign country to be referencing what is happening in your country as far back as 2004 to take a decision about a person in 2025. So you may want to tread softly before you abuse the Canadian government, because I'm sure that if the Canadian government decide to release some of the documents that they have in their domain, definitely you will be amazed, because this thing will be detailed therein. The political crisis, the violence that have been happening successively across Nigeria. So it shows that the Canadian government has a lot of record, because they went 20 years back in time to take a decision on something that happened, or to take a decision in 2025. That is 21 years back. So look at that issue of Yaya Bello during his re-election, whereby the police helicopter was allegedly flying in the airspace. What can we call that kind of conduct? Odubia is saying, I an unquenchable firebrand, Freedom Media, I see all your messages. God bless you. Do well to press the love button. And Monday is watching me all the way from New York. Great to have you, Monday. And some of the things that I'm saying, Monday, I don't know if you have papers. I don't know if you are on the jackpot trail. I don't know if you have people that want to apply. But if you don't have paper yet, or if you have people that want to apply, or you have people that you want to bring into the United States, I would advise you that later on, try and watch this video from the beginning and watch it to the point that I'm speaking now, if you are just joining us, because I've said some things that will be very useful to you regardless of your immigration status in the United States. So if you look at it quite well, the Canadian government is speaking from a position of authority, because I just referenced what happened during the election of Yaya Bello. Now, the same election of Yaya Bello, the same election, the same re-election, not the first election, the second time election that produced Yaya Bello was when the PDP woman leader was allegedly burnt in her house. You will recall that Yaya Bello is of the APC, but in that particular election, it was reported that APC street urchins, that they stormed the house of the PDP woman leader in Kogi State, and they burnt the woman alive at that point in time. Look at that kind of situation. What can we call people that do that? Are they not terrorists in the true sense? And they are operating in the political space, so it is safe to rate them as political terrorists and to rate the party that they belong to as terrorists. That is to back up the claim of the Canadian government. I first argue that the Canadian government acted ultra-vires, which is beyond their power. But on the opposite side, we cannot blame the Canadian government, because for you to be a friend of a country, your value must align. And I've said it in my past live videos that countries, nations are like human beings. And I will come to that in a moment. I will be giving some analysis in that regard to back up some of the examples that I'm giving to you of why the Canadian government may have taken such a decision. So if you look at it quite well, they burnt the woman alive until date. That is another implication, because if some of these infractions happen, the Canadian government will now look at the body language of the Nigerian government. Till date, there is no justice for some of these infractions. There's no justice for some of this political violence. And that itself means that the Nigerian government, from the lens of the Canadian government, will be complicit in that regard. And that's why they said, in the case of Daniel Egbariva, that brought this issue to limelight, that you cannot overlook the action of politicians at the subnational and world level, you cannot overlook their violence. You cannot use it to exonerate the leaders at the national level, because their action stands to be benefited by those leaders at the national level. And that is the argument of the Canadian government. So look at these two cases that I've given to you: the police helicopter issue, allegedly, the burning of the PDP woman leader as well. Now, another thing which I referenced earlier on is the comment of Nasir El-Rufai, where he said that, well, if they come, if the European observers or the foreign observers, if they meddle in Nigerian election, they will return in body bags. El-Rufai, the same small statured El-Rufai, failed to remember that it is the meddlesomeness of foreign powers that produced the Muhammadu Buhari that he was supporting at that time that made him to make that particular statement. And I will refresh your memory. You will recall they bring back our girls, and now the Obama government of the United States at that point in time intervened in Nigerian election, whereby Obama released a video at that point in time that he said that he hoped that the election will be an opportunity for Nigerians to open a new chapter in their lives, will be an opportunity for Nigeria to open a new chapter in their life. Now, what do we call that? If we place that statement under content analysis, you have a government, you have a president that is seeking re-election. You, the president of the United States, you decide to make a video at that point in time, and you are saying that you hope that Nigerians will use this election to open a new chapter in their life. Well, what is the new chapter? The new chapter is the APC, which is Buhari at that point in time, because the PDP is not a new chapter. The PDP is the existing government seeking re-election. So El-Rufai himself forgot that the meddlesomeness of the foreign powers, in this case the United States, produced, largely influenced the emergence of the Buhari government. So what the El-Rufai and the APC camp benefited from, when it was now the re-election of Muhammadu Buhari, they were now suspicious. You will recall that at that point in time, they said, oh, Atiku cannot go to the United States. They said that they dare Atiku Abubakar to step his feet into United States, that he has a corruption case, he will be arrested. But then Atiku Abubakar was able to use lobbyists at that point in time to convince the American government that you don't have to interfere in an election, and if you don't grant me the visa, that means that your action have indirectly interfered in the Nigerian election. So grant me this visa so that I can go into the United States, because my absence in the United States have become an issue of politics that would largely shape the outcome of the election that I'm a candidate in. And the United States government at that point in time decided to grant Atiku Abubakar the visa. So it was the granting of Atiku Abubakar the visa that really shocked the APC at that point in time. So they summarily, in their own wisdom, believe that the United States government has switched gear, that the United States government is now supporting the PDP. And I think at that point in time, there was a change of power in the United States at that point in time. I think power have moved from, I think, either the Democrat to the Republican or vice versa at that point in time. So that itself made El-Rufai to be troubled, and he made that statement that, oh, if they dare to interfere in the electoral process of Nigeria, they will return in body bags. So look at that statement from El-Rufai. Look at the weight of that particular statement. What can we call anybody that makes such a statement? Is that not a statement of extremism? Is that not a statement that calls for and promotes violence? So if you are looking for examples of why the Canadian government could have come at the decision that, as far as they are concerned, APC and PDP are terrorist organization, this is a perfect example. If the American government at that point in time has released another statement backing directly or indirectly the Muhammadu Buhari government, El-Rufai wouldn't have made that statement. And should I tell you the truth, that statement is still hurting Nasir El-Rufai till now. And that is why Nasir El-Rufai, to some extent, is a political liability to candidate of the Labour Party in the 2020 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi. Because if in 2027, Nasir El-Rufai is programming himself to be the running mate of Mr. Peter Obi, if Obi decides to pick Nasir El-Rufai, Obi will be carrying the burden of that particular statement that El-Rufai made, that they will go in body bag. Because El-Rufai's file, El-Rufai's, El-Rufai's report is already with all these foreign countries, all these Western countries. They already know who is Nasir El-Rufai. It is in their document, and they have tagged him with that toga of a promoter of political violence. So if Peter Obi now decide to use him as a running mate, would that affect the image of the government of Mr. Peter Obi, or the ticket, the presidential and vice presidential ticket in the eyes of the Western powers? And if you trace back the history of Nigeria and you monitor electioneering in Nigeria, you will know, and even Africa at large, if you study the conduct of the CIA, the FBI, you will know that they have an influence in who becomes what during election. You will recall that there was a point in time that they said that the Tinubus and the APC political stalwart at that time, they were meeting with people in the government of the United States, trying to lobby them as why they should support Muhammadu Buhari, trying to convince them of why Muhammadu Buhari is the right choice. Let me give you a shocking example. You will recall retired Commodore Omonwumi, who appeared on Channels TV at some point in time and made some allegation of extremism, Boko Haramism on the Buhari government at that point in time. Commodore Omonwumi said that it took the intervention of the Nigerian security agencies to convince the American government that, well, Muhammadu Buhari is not a bad person to support in the presidential election. So the election goes beyond, you going out to vote. There is an influence of Western powers in who becomes the president of Nigeria. And Emeka is saying that children of these politicians are everywhere abroad because they don't want Nigeria to happen to their children. Absolutely right, Emeka. Your points are well valid, because Nigerian politicians, they hide their children abroad. And let me give you a point in that regard, Emeka, which is that I've told people before that if you are looking for Nigerian politicians, if you want to see how Nigerian politicians are despicable in their conduct, if you want to know the life that Nigerian politicians' children are living, and let me take this from Ifeoma. It says, how many world leaders have their subject leave their subject and visit other countries for health matters? I think it's referring to Ifeoma should be a lady. She's referring to the medical tourism apparently of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But that's a discussion for another day. I have told people that if you want to know about Nigerian politicians and how they care for their children, what you should do is Google top 100 universities in Nigeria right now. To the grace of God, I was able to attend one of the top 100 universities in the world. Apologies. To the glory of God, I was able to attend one of the top 100 universities in the world, which is the University of Nottingham. It was one of the top 100 at that point in time, and I think it's still one of the top 100. Now, Google top 100 universities in the world and look at the universities, those top 100. Look at the ones that are in the UK, look at the ones that are in Canada, look at the ones that are in the United States, look at the ones that are in Australia, look at the ones that are in New Zealand. Now, I've given you like 5 countries. Pick the universities, top 100 universities that are in these countries. Now, go to those particular universities, go to their admin, go and look into their records. If they can open the names of international students of Nigerian origin, if they can open it for you, you will see the name of the politicians that you are worshiping, the name of the politician that you want to kill and destroy for. You will be seeing their names there. You will be seeing in Canada, you may see, Rotimi Amechi, that's the son of Rotimi Amechi. In UK students are studying in the UK. Amechi students are allegedly studying in Canada. That's Nigerian politicians for you. So Google top 100 universities, go there. You will see where the children of all these Nigerian politicians, where they are in. They don't go to the universities that are less than the top 100 in Nigeria, and you will see them the way they are living large. Some of them are living large. Some of them are living a life of affluence than even the citizens of some of these countries. I've been opportuned to attend the University of Nottingham for my master's degree at that point in time. So I know some of the things that I'm saying, and I know the report that I get from some of my colleagues. There was a time the Madwekes were studying in Netherlands. There was a Madweke that was doing his PhD in Netherlands some time ago. The Nigerian politician, their cousin, nephew, go to UK universities, Google top 100, you will see all of them there. So it is sad that you now see a Nigerian whose father is a taxi driver, his mother is a pepper seller. You want to kill yourself, you want to die, you want to destroy because of these politicians that they don't even have your time. There was a report by Linda Ikeji today whereby they bust Nyesom Wike's child, Joe Quinn. That Joe Quinn, how he was allegedly spending lavishly for his girlfriend Tenisola in the UK, and I have the video uploaded in my video catalog. Do well to catch up with it and my analysis in that regard. So if we look at the conduct of Nigerian politicians, it leaves much to be desired. Let me take this message from Monday. Monday says, if you are yet to subscribe, of course, do well to subscribe to this channel because I'm going into another realm of analysis. Then we round up. Monday is saying, in my opinion, none of these Western governments have the moral standing to lecture African countries about corruption. Corruption isn't a word in any African language, and it takes two to tango. Great submission there, Monday. Great submission from you. I absolutely agree with you, but at the same time, you see, they may not have the moral standing, right? I agree with you in terms of moral standing because if you trace it back to colonialism, slave trade, they themselves, they are extortionists. And if you are to redefine corruption, you can tag corruption as extortion, perhaps an illegal extortion. You can label corruption in two words, an illegitimate extortion. So in that particular regard, we can say that the Western countries that are crucifying Africans and Nigerians for corruption, Western countries themselves, they are extortionists. If you then go to read about the theory of imperialism, the theory of neocolonialism, and you go and read about slave trade, you will recall that these countries are guilty as charged as regards extortion. So what is extortion? It is corruption itself in its own right because you are arm twisting someone to take something that legally belongs to them. So if you look at it, these countries, by virtue of that historical antecedent, they lack the moral high ground. And if you look at it as regards the United Kingdom, when they say Commonwealth, no, there's nothing like Commonwealth in the true sense of it. Rather than for these countries to settle African nations, for them to settle them as regards to compensate them for slave trade, neocolonialism, imperialism, and all that, they decide to say, oh, Commonwealth of Nations, whereby in the true sense of it, there's no Commonwealth. If there's Commonwealth, Nigerians don't need visa to go to the UK. Commonwealth means that everything belongs to all of us. That means that the wealth in the United Kingdom also belongs to Nigerians. The wealth in the United Kingdom also belongs to Ghanaians. So if the wealth in the United Kingdom also belongs to Monday as a Nigerian, why do Monday needs a visa for him to access his wealth? So you can see that even the Commonwealth, the word Commonwealth is a scam. I'm trying to give some further analysis to the statement of Monday in that regard. So great point from you, Monday. Now let us go into another point, as regards the electoral violence in Nigeria that could have warranted the Canadian court and vis-a-vis the Canadian government to label Nigerian political parties as terrorist organization. If you are yet to subscribe, do well to subscribe to this channel. Samuel said, well, I really can't make meaning out of this, your comment, Samuel. Now, let us look at another. I gave you the instances of Buhari's dogs and the baboon. I gave you the instances, the instance of El Rufai's body bag comment. Now, this one that I want to give you will shock you. But then, the Canadian government, and I need you to listen attentively to my analysis in this regard. The Canadian government believes that if you act in a way that you twist the people, or you use their vulnerability against them, or you try to kind of like trample on their views and rights, you have committed an act of terrorism. Now, this example will shock you. For instance, the Tinubu's bullion van issue. You will recall that during the election some time ago, there were two bullion vans, or is it one, that was allegedly parked in the at the gate of then APC national leader Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think that particular image was taken from, aerial photography or something like that, but the bullion van was stated right at his doorstep. So to the values of the Canadian government, to what Canadian government understands as democracy. When you have wealth and you now want to use it to kind of like impose your wish on the people, if you want to use the vulnerability of the people because they are poor and you are rich, you have access to bullion van. So during election period, you now want to use that your wealth to make sure that you suppress the will of the people or to intimidate them or influence them in a particular direction, which is common to terrorists, that they will say, oh, you must turn to Islam no matter your religion. So the Canadian government is apparently looking at it in that regard, that if you are using money, if you are the type that during election time there will be bullion van in front of your house, that means that you are also committing an act of terrorism, because those are some of the features of terrorism. There is a connection in that regard. And if you are the type that if you want to contest an election, you would say that, well, you can still you can still snatch it, run away with it or something like that. Those are words that the Canadian government deems that, well, if you can make this kind of statement, that means that you have taken the you have taken the power to decide who will rule. You have taken it away from the people. You have usurped. That's the word I'm looking for. You have usurped the right of the people to determine who to govern them in a democracy by saying that you can snatch their will, you can steal it, you can run away with it. So looking at this instance, in the true sense of it, there is act of terrorism in Nigeria's democracy in the true sense of it, except you want to be sentimental about it as a Nigerian, except you just want to be overly correct as a Nigerian, except you want to look at it from the Nigerian prism and lens, and you want to apply maybe tribalism or emotions to it. But if you have to look at it objectively, from some of these like 6-7 instances that I've given to you, you can see clearly that some of the conduct of Nigerians and Nigerian politicians, some of their conduct and orations will truly pass as terrorism. Let us be sincere with ourselves. It will pass as terrorism. Hey, Lord Lucas, these are my favorite my ardent viewers. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Lord Lucas, shout out to you. Lord Lucas, if you are listening to me and you have something to say, I know you have the number that you can call in. So if you have a contribution, do what to call in. Let's hear from you. And if you want to contribute to this program, do what to state it in the comment section. Maybe I can tell you how to dial in, and maybe I can take 1 or 2 calls. So if you have something to say to what I've been saying so far, just state it in the comment section so I can roll out a number. I'll just call it like 2 or 3 times, and maybe I can take 1 or 2 calls. So shout out to you, Lord Lucas. Great to have you here. And Justina is saying that you are absolutely on point. Shout out to you, Justina. And Emeka is saying, and I'm a strong supporter of Kemi Badnoch, who has been bold to tell the Nigerian government the truth, but Nigerians hate the truth. We should not give up because we need a secure country. That is from people don't drop comment, the name don't fly away. Let me trace it back. That is from Emeka. And Ubong Robert is saying, I wish international community will say more of this if they can deny them visa. Well, this is more than visa denial anyway, because now they are moving from the realm of selecting politicians. I think, let me buttress your point, and Ubong, they are going deeper, because before now what they would do is to deny them visa. And I'll give you one shocking example. We will recall that, with profound respect to my Lord Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, the current Chief Justice of Nigeria, was one of the people that sat during the Supreme Court decision that produced Hope Uzodinma, the governor of Imo State. And the American government find it very absurd that how did number 4 become number 1? Till now, the American government is still trying to solve that arithmetic. They are yet to be able to solve it. That in an election, 4 was pronounced the governor. What happened to number 2? What happened to number 3? And they participated in that election. They were not disqualified, but the person that came fourth, according to the result, is now declared the winner. The American government till now, all the political scientists in America, the social scientists, they are still trying to solve that equation till now. So when the my Lord Justice, with profound respect to her, the Chief Justice, current Chief Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, tried to, I think, apply for an American visa, that document leaked to the media at that point in time, whereby it was circulating that I think the US government responded that, they can't grant a visa or something like that based on electioneering or political something. So even the Chief Justice of Nigeria, with profound respect to her, we found it difficult to go to the United States at this point in time based on the election that produced Hope Udozima when he was number 4 and he was declared the governor. Some of you don't follow politics and happenings in the polity, but so before they used to deny them visa, which is that if you are a politically exposed person, or they deem you fit, or they deem you complicit in electioneering in Nigeria, in subverting the will of the people, what they will do is they will be waiting for you. When you apply for visa, they will reject your visa. When your children apply for visa, they will reject it. When your spouse apply for visa, they will reject it. But now they are moving into the realm of summarily rejecting anybody that is politically affiliated with all these political parties. That is a new twist. That is a shocking dimension to it all. They are going from selective to the whole. They are going from and picking people now, making it a total and binding decision, and that was what Daniel Egbareva suffered from. Now let us look into other things. I've given you the instance of the bullion van of then national leader of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, now president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I've given you the statement of power is not just. That is the full statement. Power is not served a la carte. You grab it and run away with it. To the Canadian government, you don't grab power and run away with it. You grab power when the people decide to give it to you. It is people that will extend it to you, that take power, rule over us, take power, be our president. So in the Canadian law, in the Canadian value system, you don't grab power and run away with it. Now, let me go into some deep international relation and diplomacy analysis for you, and I'll try to break it down in a way that you can understand, so that you can understand why the Canadian government is taking this decision. I told you earlier a while ago that the election conducted in Nigeria does not affect Canada directly. That as a country, right, if they are conducting an election in Lagos and there's electoral violence, how does the electoral violence in Lagos affect the Canadian government? No Canadian was injured in that particular election. The ballot box that was snatched didn't belong to the Canadian government. The person that is contesting the election is not half Canadian, half Nigerian. So the Canadian business interest wasn't jeopardized or tampered with at that point in time. So if the election that was conducted has nothing to do with Canada or a Canadian, why would the Canadian government now take action against Nigeria and Nigerians on the basis of that election? You see, this thing that I want to tell you right now, if you don't sit down in an international relations master class, you cannot hear it anywhere. This thing that I'm about to tell you, you will not hear it, except you have maybe a BSc in political science, international relations. Then you now gain admission for masters. Maybe they will teach you at the master's class, but let me give it out to you. So if you are watching me right now, I'm one of the few lucky people on earth at the moment. You see, why would the Canadian government decide to take action against Nigeria? Let me tell you. You see, countries across the world, they are like human beings, and I'll try to break it down in such a way that even if you've never sit in a politics class, you can understand. Just look at Nigeria now. Nigeria is seen in the realm of international relations as a living being, a living entity. The government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is seen as a living being. For instance, Ghana is seen as a living being on it. So it's seen like, what I can call an human being. If you look at Ghana, if you look at Togo, it's seen as a human being. Canada, US, UK, they are seen as human beings. Now, I would understand that sometimes in the realm of international relation and diplomacy, countries are being looked at as human beings. Let me give you an example. I was at a forum some years ago, and the president of the International Court of Justice at that point in time was at that international forum. I was the third person sitting to him, and somebody asked him that how do International Court of Justice, how do they arrive at their decisions, and why is it that countries do not used to challenge the judgment that comes out from those courts? You will recall that when the international criminal court or something, when they gave judgment against Nigeria as regards Bakassi, that the Obasanjo government sent Bakassi to Cameroon. Nigeria did not appeal. If you are a mature person at that point in time and you are wondering why did Obasanjo not appeal, why did Obasanjo not appeal the judgment of the court at that point in time that Bakassi should be ceded to Cameroon? I have an answer for you, which is that the process at which the judge of the ICC and ICJ, which is the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, the stages at which they go through before they can arrive at those judgments is a very strenuous process. I won't go into the details, but I just want to pick something out of it. That particular judge said that year that if you are being asked, when if there's a proceeding, a court proceeding going on, and you are being asked at the International Criminal Court that where is Lagos? For instance, where is Lagos? It is of public knowledge. Everybody in the world knows that Lagos is in Nigeria. You have the effrontery. You have the effrontery to say that, as the papi say, I'm going to isolate you now. If you can't substantiate your claim, you can only watch me. You won't be able to comment. If you can't expatiate your claim, I will isolate you in the next 2 minutes. So I'm looking forward to your comment, for you to tell me where I lied or something, because it's only in Nigeria that a PhD in political science and international relations will be speaking. Maybe you are a palm wine seller. You'll be telling me I'm wrong. You that you have never sat in a politics class. I studied politics and I bagged my 3 degrees from 3 different continents. I schooled in Africa, I schooled in Europe, I schooled in Asia. So I'm looking forward to your further comment, as I will isolate you. That I can promise you. Now, the chief judge of the International Criminal Court said at that particular time that if Lagos is in Nigeria, everybody knows. If they ask you, you can say, my Lord Justice, let me go back and speak to my country people for me to truly know that Lagos is in Nigeria. And they will say, okay, you can go. They will tell you that you can go, that you may want to go and ask President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and members of the Federal Executive Council that, sorry, is Lagos truly in Nigeria? Then they will wait for your response. That is how rigorous it is, that is how flexible it is, that despite the fact that everybody knows that Lagos is in, even if you ask Google or anybody, they know Lagos is in Nigeria, but the International Criminal Court will still allow you, if you say you want to go and ask your people in your country, they will still allow you that, okay, go and ask, just for something as simple as, is Lagos in Nigeria? So that is why when judgment come out from the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, you will see that most countries, they barely appeal those judgments. That is why when judgment was given against Nigeria as regards ceding Bakassi to Cameroon, the Obasanjo government did not appeal that particular judgment. But if you are a Nigerian, if you don't understand international relations and diplomacy and some of this international judicial system, you will think that, oh, Obasanjo may have collected, Nigerians come up with funny arguments. Oh, Obasanjo may have collected bribe. Oh, Obasanjo may have done this. Oh, Obasanjo may have done that. Maybe Obasanjo's family ancestors are from Cameroon and all that. I'm just giving you the answer to it. So if you look at it in the realm of international relations and diplomacy, countries are being regarded as a living entity. Nations are being regarded as a living being. That is why if you commit a coup, if you are planning a coup, the reason why the punishment is the reason why the punishment is death sentence in most countries is that it is seen as if you want to kill a living being. It is seen as if you attempt to kill a living entity, something that is breathing in oxygen and breathing out, I think, is it carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, whichever one. I can't remember my biology well now. Politics don't fool my brain. They would think that you want to kill a country, you want to kill a living being. That is why the punishment for when you plan a coup is death sentence. Now, I haven't given you that particular background. Let me move to another step that will make you understand, which is that now, if Canada is a living being, it's a human being. Let me say, I now, Omosholadeji, I am Canada, right? And Ubong Robert is Nigeria. Let me use it like that. Ubong Robert in my comment section is Nigeria. I, Omosholadeji, I am Canada. Now, look at it, the way human beings relate among themselves. Look at the way human beings, think among themselves. The way you will see some people, for no reason you will just hate them. It happens amongst countries too. The way you will see some people and you think this person is too loud, this person is too lousy, I don't just like this person. It happens among nations too. There is, sometimes that you will see some people, you will just like them for no reason. It happens amongst countries too. Sometimes you will see some people and over time you will gradually become friends and build relationship. It happens exactly like that amongst countries too. Now back to the Canadian court judgment that declared APC and PDP as terrorist organization. Just as human beings have values, just as human beings have something that they believe in, just as for instance now, if you are a Christian, right, or if you are a Muslim, let me use Islam. If you are a Muslim, Muslims generally don't eat pork meat, right? Muslims generally don't eat pork meat. So it is believed that if you want to roll with person, you will naturally not roll with person that likes pork meat. Whether that person is a Christian, a Buddhist, an Hindus, or a Sikhism. Some of you don't know that the world has so many religions. You think it's only Christianity, Islam, and traditional religion. No, there's Buddhism, there is Sikhism, there is what's this? I think it is Hindus, which is for the Indians, Buddhist is for the Chinese, and Sikhism is also a religion on its own. So there are different religions. So it is believed that if you are a human being and you don't eat pork, you are a Muslim, it is naturally expected that based on your religious values, you would naturally not associate with people that eat pork. If you are a Christian and you are a pastor, it is believed that you will naturally not associate with people that drink beer. If you are a reverend father and you are a reverend father now, it is expected that they will not find you amongst prostitutes. I think I'm giving you all these examples to break it down so that if you have never sat in a political science in your life, definitely you can understand what I'm saying. And it is believed that if a reverend father wants to do something, majority of the people that will be there will be priests. If MC Oluomo now, if he wants to do a party, it is expected that majority of the people that will be there will be all these NURTW guys and all that. It is expected that if give me a veteran actress or a notable one, let's say Funke Akindele Jennifer, it is expected that if Funke Akindele wants to do a party, majority of the people that you will find in that particular gathering will be actress. So also for countries, it is expected that you will naturally align with people that share your values. It is expected that as a country, you will look for countries that share your value. You will look for countries that believe in what you believe in. You will look for countries that are synonymous to you in terms of value, just as you, as a human being, you will look for somebody that is your type. You don't eat pork, you would not want to associate with somebody that is eating pork. You would. Sorry, I need to block somebody. This judge, let me just, sorry, a moment, let me block him. Okay. So you can watch me, you can't comment. So it is expected that you would naturally move with people that are your type. So in that particular regard, same also for Canada, in the sense that if Canada believes in having a free and fair election, if it is the value of the Canadian system, if they don't rig election in Canada, if dogs and baboons are not soaked in blood in Canada, if in Canada you don't snatch it, steal it and run away with it, if in Canada you don't use bullion van, if in Canada police helicopter do not fly in the airspace and shoot in the crowd allegedly, if those things doesn't exist in Canada, it is naturally expected that the Canadian government, if they want to align or if they want to take a decision based on promoting democracy, they will align with countries that goes in that particular realm. They will align with countries that their position align with their values. That is how it is in the realm of international relations. So if you are thinking that, well, the conduct of Canada, yes, it's true, it is ultra vires, they don't have the right to meddle into the politics of Nigeria. But then if Nigeria does not share the same value as Canada as a country, and I've used it in the in the perspective of human beings, Canada as a country have the right to dissociate from Nigeria. Canada have the right to abstain from Nigeria. Let me give you an instance now. Let's look at it. Okay, let me give you a perfect instance. Let me give you an example. For instance, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. These are countries that they have experienced coup d'etat recently. And this country, because Nigeria as a country, coup d'etat is against the policy of Nigeria. Nigeria does not ascribe to gaining power or kind of like taking over power through the barrel of the gun. Nigeria as a country ascribe to democracy. So Nigeria promotes democratic values. When there was a coup in Mali, when there was a coup in Burkina Faso, when there was a coup in Niger, Nigeria dissociates from these countries. That is a perfect example. You know, I've given you so many examples, but I've been looking for something that I can use Nigeria as an example of dissociating from other countries as well. So Nigeria at that point in time dissociate from Mali, dissociate from Togo, dissociate from Burkina Faso. Why? Because the conduct of the Mali government, the conduct of the Burkina Faso government at that point in time does not align with the belief of the Nigerian government. So if Nigeria, when coup was perpetrated in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, if Nigerian government can dissociate from Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger military coup d'etat, if Nigerian government can dissociate, also the Canadian government can dissociate from Nigeria. If the kind of democracy, if the kind of electoral process that you practice, if the Canadian government deem it fit that it is against their own principle, it is against their own value, it contradicts their personal value as a country, just as Nigeria dissociated from Niger, whereby I think they closed the border at some point in time, and even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as chairman of ECOWAS at that point in time, was kind of mulling the idea of invading Niger. You will recall that time people were saying that, oh, it is France that is pushing Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and you will recall that analysts and people from the Hausa Fulani, the Connaught at that point in time, they were protesting against the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu that no, you cannot go and invade Niger for any reason whatsoever, because we have historical family and ancestral ties with some of these people in Niger, and it will greatly affect us. And the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu rescinded that decision at that point in time, and it was one of the reasons why the government of this country decided to go and align with the likes of Russia. You will recall that they are suspecting that France, their former colony, was behind the alleged invasion of Nigeria, the planned alleged invasion of Nigeria at that point in time. So they too, they rushed to Putin in Russia that save us. You are one of the world powers at this point in time. Give us backing. And Russia, that was looking for an opportunity to expand its territory as the collapsed Soviet Union, that is looking to expand territories across the world. Russia accepted them. Russia gave them protection. That's why I usually say this is my channel. It's for intelligent people or prospective intelligent people. There must be a level that your reasoning is before you can be part of this channel and try to flow along. If you are the type that you just like to watch cartoon, you like to watch comedy skits, you like to watch people that their half breast, half bum is open, this channel is not for you. This is a channel whereby we don't abuse, we don't insult, we dissect, we break it down, and we bring empirical instance with some great analogy from across the world to back up our point. So if Nigeria at that point in time can dissociate from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso on the basis of the conduct of the Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger government, just look at it also in this context that the Canadian government also have the right to dissociate from Nigeria by virtue of the conduct, the oration, the value of the Nigerian government. So if the Canadian government sees the Nigerian election as below the democratic threshold, so the Canadian government can as well say, well, on the basis of this, we want to dissociate from the Nigerian government. And I think this is what is happening. And based on this that I just said now, I will give you two instances for you to know how the Canadian government have been strongly dissociating from anything Nigeria. You will recall that recently the chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, the chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, some time ago, just recently, was denied a Canadian visa. Now, before I go into that, let me talk about the policies of a country as regards relating with another country. Sometimes we have open policy, sometimes we have closed or secret policy. Open policy in the sense that the country will come out to state categorically where they stand as regards what is happening in your country or as it pertains to your country. And I'll give you another example in that regard. You will recall that there was a time the UAE government, United Arab Emirates government, came out categorically at some point in time that they are restricting the entry of Nigerians into their country. They placed something like a visa ban on Nigerians. That is an open policy on migration. That is an open policy on migration. They came out to categorically state that we don't want Nigerians in our country, so we are placing a visa ban. If they want to do it in a closed way, they won't come out and say it. Nigerians will just be applying and they'll just be rejecting the visa. Nigerians will just be applying, they'll just be rejecting the visa. And that is what happens in countries like the UK, the US. These two countries, they seem to have a close policy on migration in the sense that if Nigerians apply, if 100 Nigerians apply, maybe they will give just one person or two. So they already have a position on the migration of Nigerians to their country. Digitalization. I'm not a Muslim, but if they say Assalamu alaikum, what do they say? Alaikum. Sorry if I mispronounce it. I'm just trying, Alaikum assalam. I think that's how they say it, right? You are welcome, my brother. If you are yet to subscribe, do want to subscribe to this channel. There's somebody that I want to isolate at that point in time. I've not seen his comment. This Asipapi, that called me a liar. So let me just, isolating, so he can only watch me, can't comment. I can't forget. I promised him that I'm looking forward to his further comment of where I lied and I didn't get the comment, so I just have to isolate him. This platform is for mature people that can contribute meaningfully. You can see all what I've been saying since. You can see that this is not just something that I just cornered into. This is something that I'm an expertise in. So now let us go to another realm, which is that if you look at it, the Canadian government can, by the virtue of what I just explained to you, dissociate from Nigeria. So the Canadian government have no right to interfere in what is going on in Nigeria. But if the value of the Nigerian government goes against their laws, goes against their principle, they too can dissociate from Nigerian government, just as Nigeria dissociate from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger recently. So that is one thing that you need to know that I find very important. So I think that it is very important that we need to be careful as a country, because there seems to be a silent policy on Nigeria. And I remember I was talking about Christopher Musa, right? Yes, the chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa, was denied visa to Canada. What happened was that I think when this Meghan and Michael or something, this British prince and is it queen or something, when they visited Nigeria some time ago, so they had a game or something like that, or a symposium, and Nigeria was duly invited, and that event was to hold in Canada. So the chief of defense staff applied for visa to Canada, and the Canadian government denied Nigeria's chief of defense staff visa. Do you know what a chief of defense staff means? There are some positions you get to in your life. You can confidently beat your chest that I can never be denied visa. There are some levels you get to in your life that when you are going in life, when you are rising, you get to a particular level in life that you think that if this thing is happening to other people, it can never happen to me. It's not possible. Such is the position of the chief of defense staff of a country of over 200 million people, of Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, of Nigeria, the capital of the black race. If you are a chief of defense staff of such a country, that means that you are in charge of the defense of that particular country. Coup d'etat cannot happen in that country without your knowledge. You are in charge of the security of life and property in that country with the power vested on you by the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that have appointed you. For even smaller countries, Togo, Niger, Burkina Faso, that they have smaller population and influence in the global sphere, you cannot deny their chief of defense staff visa. It is an insult to that country. It is an insult to that office. And don't forget that Christopher Musa was going to Canada on an official function. I was speaking about open and closed policy. Christopher Musa was going to Canada on an official function. Yet the Canadian government, should I use the word, have the effrontery to deny him visa. Those are the signs. The Canadian government have not come out to say, no, we don't want Nigerians in our country. We don't want to associate with Nigerians. But then, if you look at the body language of the Canadian government, or what the Canadian government have been doing, it is pointing to that the Canadian government has a position as against Nigerians migrating to their country. If not, how will you deny a chief of defense staff a visa? Is he going to run away? Is it that he doesn't have trace? Is it that he doesn't have identity? Do you know a chief of defense staff is one of the top leaders in charge of managing the population of the Nigerian military? And in the Nigerian military, we reportedly have about 500,000, which is abysmally low. Anyway, Nigeria should have no less than like 10 million in its military based on the security challenges that we have. But we have a small number of about 500,000. If you deny a chief of defense staff that is going to represent the military and Nigeria at a function in Canada, you have passed utmost disrespect to that particular country. So even smaller nations, we profound respect to them, the likes of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, some nations that their population is not up to 5 million. Some nations that, Lagos, I think, is about 22 million. Some nations that are not up to the size of Lagos. For instance, the president recently went to St. Lucia, right? The population of St. Lucia is just maybe, they said is maybe 200,000 or not up to 500,000. Now, if the chief of defense staff of St. Lucia applies for a visa, it is an insult to deny the chief of defense staff of St. Lucia a visa, not to talk of the chief of defense staff of Nigeria. But the Canadian government, despite knowing who Christopher Musa is, they confidently looked at him in the face, looked at Tinubu in the face, looked at Nigeria in the face and said, no, you are not welcome into our country. Nigeria chief of defense staff, we don't want you in our country. And if a country decides they don't want you, there's nothing that can change it. Nothing on earth can change that particular policy. If Nigeria decides that they don't want you in their country, there's nothing you can do to change it. So the Canadian government looked at Christopher Musa in the eye, another top military officials in Nigeria, and they denied him visa. At that point in time, I was having an interaction with a friend, and I said that if a chief of defense staff can be denied the visa, Nigeria is finished. Apologies, apologies for using that word. If a chief of defense staff can be denied the visa, chief of defense staff, Federal Republic of Nigeria, can be denied the visa, who are you? You want to say you are what? You want to say you are an artist? You want to say you are a businessman? You want to say you are a professor? You want to say, oh, you are a doctor? You want to say you are a researcher? You want to say you want to go and greet your ancestors in in Canada? What do you want to say you want to go and do? And who are you? Are you bigger than the chief of defense staff? So if Nigerians, if they have eyes at that point in time, they would have seen what is coming, that this chief of defense staff that they denied visa, if you love yourself, Canada is a no-go area, because it will take the grace of God for you to get the visa of that particular country. And that is why, some people haven't seen that they will retrace their step, that no, I'm no longer applying for this Canadian visa, because based on the international relation and diplomacy, the coast is not clear. So you can see that Christopher Musa was denied visa. So that itself, it shows that Canada as a country already has a position on Nigeria, an hidden position that they will not come out and say, a close policy that they don't want anything that has to do with Nigeria or Nigerian leadership in their country to come and mingle with their people, associate with their people or anything. So it is a policy of the Canadian government. There are two policies. There are open policy, there are closed policy. When Nigeria was to close the border with Benin Republic, Nigerian government announced it, and they closed the border during Buhari time. Nigerian government can also decide to impose tax that it is so difficult for goods coming from Benin Republic to enter Nigeria, just as Donald Trump is doing now. That is an open policy, in the sense that he's saying that if you want to bring goods into United States, so tax, is intentionally doing it so that it will restrain some countries from bringing their goods to the United States. That is how it is in the realm of international relations. So they denied Christopher Musa visa, and not only that, members of the Nigerian police have always been denied Canadian visa recently. And I will give you something in that regard. You see, when you apply for visa, they will tell you that are you for instance, if you apply for a UK visa, they will say, are you a member of the Nigerian Armed Forces? Are you a military personnel or something? If you are, you will declare yes. Do you know why? Because before now, they used to give such people special treatment. If you declare that yes, I am serving in the Nigerian police, they will grant you the visa. They would investigate you less because they believe that you are first a law enforcement agent. So definitely your profile will be clean naturally. They will believe that as a member of the Nigerian police force, you won't go to the UK or Canada to go and commit crime. So they will be soft on you, and they believe that you have a job in Nigeria, you want to be promoted in your job. So the probability that you will come back to your country is very high. And one thing that countries look out for is return factor. They call it return factor, which is that what will bring you back to your country. What is that rope? What is that string that will draw you back to your country? So the police are highly favored. But recently, and you can Google it, just type Canada, Nigerian police, you will see some report of Nigerian police officers that jump to Canada and they want to gain asylum. And the Canadian government will say, no, 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 no. We can't grant you our asylum because you served in the Nigerian police force, and we deem Nigerian police a corrupt organization. Don't take my word for it. Just Google, do some research. I'm sure you'll find like 2, 3, 4 examples, because I've read no less than three of such instances whereby for serving in the Nigerian police, the Canadian government will just say, sorry, we can't grant you asylum. Sorry, we cannot grant you our visa. Why? Just because you served in the Nigerian police. Because why? They view the entire police architecture, they view the entire police structure of Nigeria as corrupt. So they believe that if the entire Nigerian police in their own wisdom is corrupt, if you serve in Nigerian police, the probability that you would have collected bribe is high. The probability that you are also corrupt is high. The probability that you have committed human rights abuse is high. The probability that you have committed police brutality is also high. So people in the Nigerian police are no longer now favored like before, especially as regards Canada. And I've told you that try and read about it online. I'm sure you will get many examples in that regard. So all these things that are pointing to one thing, it shows that the Canadian government is not a fan of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Don't mistake it. Things can change. For instance, if there's an election, and for instance, if Atiku Abubakar wins or Mr. Peter Obi wins the election, the Canadian government can change their position on the Nigerian government. But currently, the position of the Canadian government to the Nigerian government, based on the case of Daniel Egbareva that led to the declaration of PDP and APC as a terrorist organization, based on the denial of visa to the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, based on the denial of visa and asylum to Nigerian police officers, it points to one thing. If you are familiar with international relations and diplomacy, it shows that the Canadian government presently, as it is constituted, is not a fan of the Nigerian government as it is presently constituted. And don't forget that when you are referring to a country, it is not the sticks, it is not the wood that will come out. For instance, if you say, oh, Nigeria, the cars in Nigeria, the house in Nigeria, the trees in Nigeria, will not raise up their hand and say, oh, President, we are here. No, if you say Nigeria today, it is the people that are in charge of the administration and governance and leadership of the country that will respond to you. So if you are not a fan of the leadership of that country will suffer. The citizen of that country will suffer for it. So the Canadian government currently is not a fan of the Tinubu government. So expect that as far as Canada is concerned, so long as Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on the throne, definitely Nigerians will be receiving basbos, Nigerians will be receiving dirty slap from Canada. Nigeria will not have, a lot of goodies from Canada, because the Canadian government apparently have a closed policy on Nigeria and Nigerians. Let me take some comment from my great people. Smart is saying, before we thought the Hausas, Nigeria biggest challenge because of the level of their illiteracy, but now the majority of the Yoruba are our biggest problem now, because Tinubu now because Tinubu can do no wrong. Well, I haven't read your comment before making my submission, so I think you have committed the fallacy of generalization. He said that for you to say, oh, all Yorubas, I'm a Yoruba man, paternal and maternal, and if you have been listening to my analysis. I think some people here have been listening to my analysis all along. They will tell you that, well, I speak the truth, not minding who sucks is God. And since you dropped that comment, some of the things that I've been saying, despite the fact that I'm a Yoruba man, you will see that I'm saying it the truth, and I'm eating it, and I'm eating the nail on the head. Just like I just said, that based on what has been happening, the Canadian government has a kind of like hidden policy of hostility on Nigerian government. Because why? They are not a fan of the Tinubu presidency for reason best known to them. Maybe let me dive further before I take the comment of Williki. I'm coming to your comment, Williki. Maybe why is the Canadian government not a fan of Tinubu? It may be as a result of the election that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It may be as a result of a background check on Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Maybe all these certificate, all this drug issue and all that. It may be because of that. It may be because of the policy of the Nigerian government. Maybe the Nigerian government has a policy that is anti-West. It may even be because of all this same-sex marriage, gay and all that. You will recall that was what led that was one of the things that brought problem for Goodluck Jonathan. Some of you don't follow politics and happenings in the polity, despite the fact that politics is a ubiquitous and a contagious phenomenon. It is all conditioning in all conditions. What that means is that it affects everything. There's a way that politics affect everything that you do in life, and you may not affect politics, but there's no way politics, leadership, and governance will not affect you. So during that time, the Obama presidency, Obama was promoting all this same-sex marriage and all that, but the Goodluck Jonathan presidency was against it. And that was when they enacted a law of 14 years that if you are caught in same-sex act, if you are caught showing emotions to people of the same gender, it is 14 years imprisonment. The United States government at that time did not find it funny. They find it as an affront, because the Western powers believe that it is only their policies that is right. They believe that anything that comes from them is the best. They believe that anything that comes from their table is the best, just like democracy. Democracy is an assertion of the West that power should come from the people. So in the eyes of the United States and the Western countries, if you are not democratic, you are not yet a country. So you can see that they have a way of forcing their beliefs, they have a way of forcing their principles on nations in the global south. We usually call them the peripheral countries. I don't want to go into some of these things, it will be too complex. There's a way they impose some of their policies on some of these African nations, or if you like, you can call them underdeveloped or developing nations. So you can see that the Canadian government apparently have a policy against the Nigerian government. Before I continue, let me take this comment that has been looking at me since, that I've been angry since, and that is from Willie Key. Says, thanks. Sorry, the light has been reflecting in my eyes for a long time, so sometimes it's really not that easy. And the comments come in a very tiny way. Thanks for your forthrightness and mature discussion. I have subscribed and will participate actively and honestly in your discourse. Thank you, Willie Key. Let me take this from Emeka. Emeka says, it's not true, because my beloved Kemi Badnock Yoruba, and she speaks nothing but the truth. Let's not use blanket judgment. Okay, I think you are responding to the comment of, what's this man? I think you are referring to Smart's comment that said, oh, Yorubas are apparently the problem of Nigeria, where I'm a Yoruba man, paternal and maternal. And sometimes it gets interesting. If I speak against Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so some Nigerians will roar at me, particularly Yoruba people. They will say, oh, some will even call you bastard. Some people that tribalism has finished their destiny. And there's no market for Yoruba people. You go to the market, it's the same market that Hausa, Fulani, Ibibio, Ijo will go to. But because it is your tribesman, he can do no wrong. The Hausa Fulanis too are guilty of it during the Muhammadu Buhari time as well. But then, you need to speak the truth, not minding who sucks is God, and that is what can lead us from where we are as a country to where we ought to be. So now, the Canadian government have moved from Chief of Defense Staff. Follow me closely at this point in time. They've moved from the Chief of Defense Staff. They've moved to the Nigerian Police and personnel of the Nigerian Police. Now they are moving to party faithfuls. They are moving to members of the political party. They are moving to loyalists of the political party, and that itself is something that you need to watch out for as Nigerians. I'm trying to see what I'm yet to touch on. So I think I've asserted that it is not right for the Canadian government to say, oh, PDP and APC are terrorist organization. And another point in that regard is you cannot say PDP and APC are terrorist organization because although some of the conduct of their members, some of their action are terrorist inclined, but then they don't have and they don't have the surface value features of a terrorist, in the sense that terrorists don't have verifiable address. Nigerian political parties, they have verifiable address. The terrorists, some of them don't have verifiable identity. Nigerian political parties have verifiable identities. And if you blanketly says that Nigerian political parties are terrorist organization, that means that you are saying that Nigerian government is a terrorist. That means that you are saying that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a terrorist. That means that you are saying that the governors in the 36th state of the federation, that means that you are saying that they are terrorists. But I will go with the other word that the Canadian government used, which is subversion of democracy. That is a strong word, and I absolutely, overwhelmingly, my body, soul, and spirit agree with the Canadian government in that regard. Subversion of democracy, because it is in Nigeria that you find somebody like Nyesom Wike, not because he wants to support Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he will be doing everything humanly possible to subvert democracy in the PDP. That is subversion of democracy. Democracy believes that there must be somebody that is speaking against you. Democracy believes that there is somebody that must be acting against you. That is democracy. Autocracy is that, which is the military government, everybody must reason and follow you. But democracy is the opposite. There must be somebody, no matter how good you are as a government, no matter how good you are as a president, no matter how good you try to please everybody, share 1 million to Nigerians. So far you are practicing democracy. Democracy asserts that there must be an opposition. And what is the job of the opposition? To speak against you. So in a democratic system, there must be somebody that is speaking against you at a point in time. There must be somebody that is acting against you at a point in time. There must be somebody that is going against your wish at a point in time. That is democracy. But what do we have in Nigeria? You want to practice democracy, but you don't want anybody to speak against you. You want to practice democracy, but you want to be the only candidate that will contest for the election. You want to practice democracy, but you want to have a one-party state. You are working towards a one-party state. That is not democracy. That is you trying to mix autocracy with democracy. So if you are practicing democracy, there must be an opposition voice. Somebody somewhere must be speaking against you. Somebody somewhere must be planning against you. If Peter Obi is the president of Nigeria, there must be some people that will be speaking, planning, strategizing against him. That is democracy. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president. You can see the ADC, you can see Atiku Abubakar, you can see Nasir El-Rufai, you can see Ajia Najatu Mohammed, you can see Aminu Tambuwa, you can see Emeka Ihedioha, you can see Rauf Aregbesola. That is democracy. If it is autocracy, they cannot assemble and gang up against the government that is in power, because that will be deemed as you trying to kind of like overthrow the government. But if you are practicing a democracy and you don't want people to gang up or to assemble against you, that is not democracy. So you can see that the Nigerian political parties, although they are not terrible, they are not terrorist organization, but some of the way they act is a clear subversion of democracy. So I totally agree with the Canadian government that the conduct of Nigerian politicians is likely a subversion of democracy. So the Canadian government is right in that regard in terms of democratic subversion. But the implication of this is that, as I round up, is that you see, as Canada has done to Nigeria, the problem is that the US, the UK may also follow suit. And before I go into that, as my round-off point, let me take some of the comments that you guys have dropped in the comment section. Emmanuel is saying, yes, you are a truthful Yoruba man. Though I'm Igbo, I watch a lot of your videos, so I know this. Lot of your people are extremely tribalistic. Well, if anybody is tribalistic, whether you are Igbo, whether you are Yoruba or Hausa, I just pity your destiny, because politicians are not tribalists. You see, if they want to steal, if politicians want to steal in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Aviation, any ministry or any layers of government, when they are doing the Federal Executive Council meeting, they are not tribalistic. You know, they know how they permutate amongst themselves, and everybody goes home smiling. In fact, some of them you will catch them stealing during the Christian Lenten fast. Some of them you catch them stealing during the Muslim Ramadan fast or something like that. So they are united in oppression. They are united in corruption. They are united in stealing. They are united in repressing the country. But you that you don't have anybody, you are now disunited in making sure that you advocate for a better country. And that's why Nigeria is the way it is. If they are doing the wrong thing, and I said it in the video I uploaded today as regards Nyesom Wike's son being exposed by Linda Ikeji's blog, his girlfriend Tenisola, how he was living a lavish lifestyle, you know, going on expensive vacation, this rose and luxury gift, how he was showering it on the girl. I made it a point in that particular video that when Nigerian politicians, when they are in trouble, it is the poor people that will come out and defend them. Their children, they never come out and defend them. Have you ever seen Nyesom Wike's son, Jordan and Joaquin, come out to defend their father? Have you ever seen, Muhammadu Buhari's son come out and defend Buhari? Have you ever seen Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi's son come out to defend them? No. The people that usually defend them are the poor people that don't have anything, except recently for Seyi Tinubu, the son of the president, when he said, oh, they do come for me, and they come for my father. My father is the greatest president in the history of Nigeria and all that. That is the only instance that I can point to in Nigeria's recent political history. So it is the poor people that will still fight the poor people to defend the people that are oppressing them. So I pity people that are tribalistic, because if you want to pay your school fees, if you go to the filling station, if you go to the market, there's nothing like tribalism. Now, let me take some comment as I round up. Abar said, this says, what time do you come out on? Abar said, I'm quite always busy sincerely, so I just do this when I have the time. So what I can say is you can subscribe and turn on your notification button. Each of my videos definitely comes with something new, because this is what I'm trained to do. If you put me in engineering, I will fail. I don't know it. If you give me clothes to sew, I don't know it. I will fail. But when it comes to politics and governance, whether locally or nationally or internationally, trust me, I'm one of your sure plugs. So do well to subscribe so that anytime I come on board or I upload a video, you can always catch up with them. And Jim Flo is saying, Alhamdulillah. Then Smart is saying, in Nigeria of today, you can't get the services of the Nigerian police and don't have money to spend on them. You pay for making your statement. That's a sad reality. And he's also saying, I said majority of Yorubas, I'm even surprised to notice this. And Williki is saying the problem is with Nigerian politicians, and particularly this APC government, is that the problem with Nigerian politicians and particularly this APC government is that they take the people for granted. Until Nigerians stand up against bad governance, things won't change. Well, you are absolutely correct, Williki. But then it is difficult for Nigerians to stand up because sometimes Nigerians like their oppressors, just as I've said earlier. Now, as I round up, let me just give you this point. Now, the implication of this is that this Canadian issue declaring PDP and APC as terrorist organization is that the UK government, the United States government, the Australian government, the New Zealand government, some of the government or in the Schengen state, which is the European Union, some of the countries in Europe like Finland, Austria, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, some of these countries in Europe, some of them will follow suit because they believe themselves. They believe that if Canada is doing something, Canada must have a point for it to come to that conclusion. What am I trying to say? There are some countries that if you have their visa, another country will tell you, okay, if you have the visa of this country, come, we'll give you visa. Before Britain left Brexit, if you have a UK visa, if you want to apply for Schengen, it is easy if you have a valid UK visa. The Schengen country that you are applying to, whether it is Cyprus, Finland, Netherlands, I think when I got my Schengen, then it was through France, through the French embassy. I said I was going to Paris, and I went there for 3 days at that point in time, then to Netherlands and some of these Schengen countries. So if you have the visa of UK before UK left Brexit. At that point in time, if you have, some of these Schengen countries will tell you that if you have the visa, you can come forward. Why? They believe that before you can get the visa of United Kingdom, the UK government would have done their own scrutiny. Before you can pass the British security test and Britain find you worthy of their visa, don't worry, come forward. You too, we deem you already worthy. Not totally worthy, we will still do our background check, we are still going to investigate you, but for you to have survived the UK system, that UK grant you visa, some of these Schengen countries will say, come forward. So if you are applying for visa to France, to Germany, to Belgium, to Netherlands, any of the Austria, Finland, any of these 28 Schengen countries, if you have a valid UK visa, you are already highly favored. You are a step ahead than somebody that doesn't have the visa. So as it is, just as the example that I just used to you, that I just gave to you, if Canada is taking a decision, there's some of these countries that will think that for Canada to take this decision, Canada must have done its own work on Nigeria. We trust the Canadian immigration system, we trust the Canadian government, that they must have seen something in that country called Nigeria for them to be denying them visa. They must have seen something before they declare the political parties of that country terrorist organization. Do you know the implication? Without doing anything, the US government will naturally begin to look at you, political parties, as a terrorist organization. That's the major implication of this thing. The UK government will now begin to look at you that, if let's say we don't work ourselves since, so it's true, this Nigeria, there's something about this country. They will now begin to look at Nigeria as a terrorist organization. That is one of the major implications, which they call a multiplier effect or bandwagon effect. You can call it multiplier effect, you can call it bandwagon effect, which is that they are not giving you a benefit of the doubt. They are relying, because your brother, you are in a family, because your brother says, Mustafa is a bad man. Then, if you see Mustafa, even if Mustafa has not done anything to you, you are naturally careful of Mustafa. You are naturally watching Mustafa. You are naturally watching Christopher. You are naturally watching Kunle. You are naturally observing him. Why? Just because your brother I've told you that, you see, that Christopher Mustafa Kunle is a bad man. So that is one of the implications of this. For the Canadian government to take this position, the United States government, which they are allies, and they share border with each other. Mexico government, Brazil government, the UK government, the French government, Germany, some of these countries will begin to take some sense from what Canada is saying, and that itself will now lead to greater hostility to the Nigerian people. That is what is paining me the most. In other words, politicians in Nigeria will not give you good roads, will not give you good electricity, will not give you adequate water supply. And at the end of the day, the little country that you are rushing into to jackpot to find a means of survival, their conduct, their oration, their action and inaction have led to the countries that you are running into, the country of choice for Nigerians, now labeling Nigerians and maybe the political parties or anybody that affiliates with them as terrorists. So you can see that if you are the type that support bad governance, if you are the type that supports all this political violence, I pity your destiny, because if you are a Nigerian today, you already don't have destiny. Let's be sincere with ourselves. If you are born in Nigeria, today our destiny has already been jeopardized by about 70 or 80%, because the probability that that child will get a kind of like qualitative education is very less. The probability that that child will graduate from school and have a job without sleeping with a senator or a politician, or not having anybody in position of influence as uncle, is the probability that that child will get a job is very less. The probability that that child will die by road accident is very high. The probability that hunger and starvation may eventually be the lot of that child while growing up is very high. The probability that that child may be a product, may go back to his creator as a result of insecurity, whether kidnapping, whether banditry, whether the activities of Boko Haram S-men is already very high. So if you are born in Nigeria, you are already disadvantaged. And now the country of choice, there's something we call country of choice for Nigerians, which is the country that Nigerians go to. If Nigerians today, they like to go to UK, you find Nigerians there. They like to go to US, they like to go to Canada, and some of these countries that operate, and ours is yours policy. There are two kind of policies. Ours is ours and ours is yours. But I won't go into that because I'm trying to round up this session. So that's why if you are watching me and you are yet to subscribe, of course do well to subscribe to this channel. So if you look at it very well, you will see that Nigeria, as it is presently, the country of choice that Nigerians are going to, the conduct of these Nigerian politicians that have already ruined the country, and they are escaping from the country. Nigerians are escaping. They are already ruining the chances of Nigerians from going into the country of choice. So at the end of the day, you have nowhere to run. You have nowhere to run. Look at Daniel Ibareva. He was a politician in Nigeria, despite the fact that he may have participated in the political violence of the PDP and APC at any point in time, and decided to run to Canada. And let me tell you the truth, I usually pray one prayer. If you are the type that support bad governance, if you are the type that encourage political violence in Nigeria, if you are the type that encourage impunity, if you are the type that tell politicians to steal, kill, and destroy, if you are the type that encourage them, I usually pray that if you apply for visa, they should not give you. If you are abroad, if you apply for paper for stay, they should not give you, so that you can return to that country that you are cheering the people to do bad thing. If yes, on Wike is doing something wrong, you'll be cheering him. Oh, right on Wike, right on Wike. But then you went to go and hide in Canada, you went to go and hide in UK, you went to go and hide in United Kingdom. But you are encouraging Wike, you are encouraging Umahi, you are encouraging Atiku Abubakar, you are encouraging Peter Obi, you are encouraging politicians from all divide to do something wrong, to rule with impunity. You are encouraging them, but you go and hide abroad. I usually pray for such people that they should not grant them visa if they apply, so that they can come back to that country that they are praising. Because you cannot leave Nigerians to be suffering and dying. You cannot leave Nigerians to be living in an hopeless and destitute manner. Then you now go abroad to go and relax. Then you now be sipping tea and coffee. You didn't encourage the leaders of your country to do the right thing. You didn't encourage the leaders of your country to develop your country. But the leaders of another country that have taken pain, agony to develop their country, you now go and hide in their country. Then you now be cheerleading political violence. Oh, whether Bola Ahmed Tinubu perform or not, is the turn of the South. Tinubu must shoot 8 years. You are a mumu man. So to you, it's no longer about performance. It's no longer anything. It must be no other person than Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whether he performs or not. When Buhari was in power, it must be no other person than Muhammadu Buhari. Why? Because you are an APC supporter. Why? Because you are an Hausa Fulani. Why? Because you just love Muhammadu Buhari. I usually pray for such people in Jesus' name, in Allah's name, in any name of any God, that if they apply for visa, they want to japa, they should not grant them visa. They should stay in that country, so that when stray bullet is flying, when insecurity is ravaging everybody, then they too, their children, their unborn children, will be a partaker of it. So I'm glad that Daniel Ibareva, though his story is very sad, because now it is now something of global concern, because the world now know his case. But I'm glad that Canada denied him asylum. You cannot be a member of PDP, one of the political leaders, and you create violence in Nigeria, then you now want to rush to Canada to go and collect asylum. No. So that is why I can say kudos to Nigerian government in that regard. Let me take your comment, then I just close for the day. It's been an interesting time with all of you, sincerely. And let me read this comment. Where did I stop? Olatunji is saying, good job, bro. Shout out to you, my brother. Smart is saying, and someone in the name of president will say, I'm doing well. What a disaster. And Olatunji is saying, and totally disagree with the guy that says Yorubas are tribalistic, as far more tribalistic, but they are very there are lines on my screen, so sometimes I don't see those words well. To cry using others war or what they are guilty of. 2023 election is a clear fact. Okay, Lord Lucas, shout out to you, Lord Lucas. Lord Lucas is one of my ardent viewers since ages past, if I can use it like that. Says, Dr. Loruko, keep up the good work. You are a detribalized Nigerian. Thank you. And Benga is saying amen, and Ubog Robert is saying amen. Well, shout out to all of you. I appreciate you for joining my live. Every time I come live, it's always an opportunity to learn something new. And it is always an opportunity to learn from you as well. Some of you don't know that. I look forward to your comment, and I also learn from you. As I read your comment, I learn some things as well, because I believe that there's nobody that knows it all. I mean, I have a PhD in political science. That doesn't mean that I know everything. I can always learn from you. I wish I can sit back one day and one of you will come and discuss about your field. Maybe I will do that one day. Maybe I will ask for some of your occupation, and I will see people that are in an occupation that can be beneficial to majority of our viewers. Maybe if you are a medical doctor, I can tell you to come and talk about cancer, or maybe any of these disease that usually affect Nigerians. If you are into any occupation, maybe I will do that. I'll bring some of you up to come and discuss, because I look forward to a time that me too, I will just sit down and learn from all of you. It's been okay. Ubong is saying I'm a quantity surveyor. Okay, Ubong, as a quantity surveyor, if person won't work, if person won't work, so now people like you, person supposed give job, or just subscribe to my channel. I already know you. You can see that when Lord Lucas said something, I said, oh, Lord Lucas, I know him, is one of my ardent viewers. So it's been an interesting time with all of you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being a part of my life. As I usually say, this channel is for intelligent people or prospective intelligent people. And I can say that all of you that I have here are definitely intelligent people. It's been an interesting time with you. Subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos. See you in my next video. And don't forget, as you are leaving here now, if you are yet to watch the Wicked Son video, that try and catch up with it. Is the last video that I upload before coming live. Catch up with it as regards the lifestyle of Wicked Son. So if you are yet to catch up with it, do what to catch up with it. In all you do, always remember that I love you all sincerely.